His Excellency Mohammed Al-Bawadi, friends and colleagues, welcome to the Saker Falcon Taskforce Workshop. I regret that I cannot join you in person today, but I'm delighted to be able to share this video message with you. All falcons, including the Saker Falcon, are included within CITES Appendix 2. This means that trade can take place subject to three preconditions. Firstly, the animals must be taken legally, namely in accordance with national law. Secondly, the trade must be sustainable, meaning there must be what we call a non-detriment finding to ensure that the number of animals taken is sustainable and will not have a detrimental impact on the survival of the species in the wild. And thirdly, the trade must be traceable, meaning that the trade must be reported to the CITES Secretariat, and we in turn make details of that trade available through our trade database. Falcons, and the Saker Falcon in particular, have been the subject of considerable attention under CITES for well over a decade. This perhaps relates to the iconic nature of the species and the importance of falconry, and the fact that these animals are widely traded, and that there have been some concerns with respect to the legality and sustainability of trade in some instances. Let me share a few examples. With respect to sustainability aspects of the trade, they were concerned about the levels of authorised exports under the Convention, and as a result, there was what we call a review of significant trade to assess the volume of the trade, the sustainability of the trade, and this did result in some measures being taken with respect to some countries where the trade was regarded as of concern because of its sustainability. But it also resulted in support to some countries in the actions that they were taking. For example, with respect to Mongolia and its wild harvesting scheme of wild Saker falcons. With respect to the legality and the traceability of the trade, there have been concerns from time to time about illegal international trade in the Saker falcon, in particular with respect to wild collected birds, and there have also been some concerns regarding dubious claims of captive breeding. But there have been a number of actions taken in relation to this. We've seen an inventory of falcons within the UAE, and we've seen the development and use of a very creative and innovative scheme known as the Falcon Passport, which has associated with it marking, which helps with traceability, put into place. We also saw the establishment of a Falcon Enforcement Task Force that developed particular tools to assist us in combating illegal trade and dealing with suspicious or dubious claims with respect to captive breeding. But the threats to the Saker Falcon go beyond international trade. The threat to the Saker Falcon cover many issues across its very wide range, and as you know, the range is extensive, covers countries across Central Asia, Europe, the Middle East and Africa. Now, across its range, we have issues to do with international trade, but we also see the conservation needs of the Saker Falcon varying from country to country, and these are issues we need to all take account of. For example, in some parts of its range, the Saker Falcon is partly resident and partly migratory. There are multiple threats, as I'm sure you're well aware, that relate to illegal trapping and trade, habitat destruction. They relate to agricultural intensification and the unintended poisoning of these birds. They relate to mortality caused as a result of power lines. And they refer to a number of issues with respect to governance across certain range states. What this all demonstrates is that while international trade and the regulation of international trade is extremely important and is being very well managed under CITES, there are a multiplicity of issues that are relevant with respect to the conservation of the Saker Falcon. And what is needed and what is critical is a holistic action plan, an action plan that can get support from multiple stakeholders and be developed in conjunction with multiple stakeholders. For example, the multilateral environmental agreements, the Convention on Migratory Species, CITES and the Convention on Biological Diversity in particular, governments and governments across the range states, land managers, scientists, intergovernmental bodies, non-government organisations, and also the falconers themselves, the breeders, the traders and private business. We need all of these stakeholders to come together to develop a holistic plan that can look at all threats to the Saker falcon to ensure its long-term survival in the wild and ensure the conservation of the species. CITES has contributed to the International Saker Falcon Conservation Action, which I've referred to in some detail before, including to the Saker Falcon Taskforce. You can rest assured that CITES will continue to collaborate very closely with the Convention on Migratory Species and all other stakeholders in this effort in promoting collectively the development of a holistic plan, implementation of a holistic plan to ensure the conservation of this iconic species. Once again, I regret that I cannot be there with you in person. The Secretariat is represented through Tom de Mouliner, and I'm delighted that Tom is there with you. I wish you a highly successful meeting, and I very much look forward to hearing of the outcomes of your meeting in the near future. I thank you.